Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Aftermath Hours, the weekly podcast of Aftermath.site, a worker-owned, reader-supported website about video games, the internet, and everything that comes after. Aftermath is, for the moment, fully reader-supported, so if you like what you hear, you can subscribe on the website, or if you don't have a ton of money, we'd appreciate it if you could leave a review of the show on Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. I am Nathan Grayson, and today I am joined by Luke Plunkett.
Hello, everybody.
And special guest, Alanah Pearce.
Hello, everybody.
We are once again trying to do the thing where we have more Australians than Americans on an episode.
That's trippy.
Oh, jeez,
Yeah.
it's the bloody rule, Nathan. If you've got to have one Aussie on the pod, you've bloody got to
Fucking
have
nice,
two
mate.
of us.
I was about to say that I think the Australian accent is better than the American one, but now I don't know anymore. I didn't like that.
Yeah, fair, honestly.
But yeah, let's see. So we have a lot to, well, actually, first of all, I feel like probably most of our listeners or viewers know who you are, Alanah, but if you'd like to introduce yourself, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Alanah Pearce. I have difficulty introducing myself these days. I'm primarily a video game writer. I'm currently writing on 3 video games, and I also have been a movie producer, and I do YouTube content creation stuff and a little bit of voice acting here and there. So I do a bunch of stuff in the games industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've worked on games like God of War, which obviously people very much have heard of. But the thing that you announced most recently that's very interesting is Charred Pictures, which is your own production company that is kind of focused on involving indie developers in like the film production process, which is really interesting to me. And you're just talking about how you are effectively a multi-hyphenate at this point. Did that kind of inform your decision to create this production company, given that you've been on so many different sides of the equation, that you've done voice acting, you've written on games, even before all that you were a journalist for a time. How did all of that feed into the creation of this company?
It certainly helps having a background in various different things. But what it really came from was living in LA. You just make a bunch of friends in Hollywood. It's like herpes, difficult to avoid. They're everywhere. So I just have a bunch of friends who work in film and TV at this point, and a lot of them would come to me when they got approached by a video game IP or they were involved in like pitches for video game IPs. They would come to me sometimes asking me to play these games for them. Otherwise, I've contributed to putting together pitch decks or basically helping people get these adaptations for games that they had never played. And I started to feel dirty that I was like, I'm aware that I'm doing this work to help people who've not actually played these things, and they're like, great creatives, but it just felt very backwards to me that a lot of these things were that I even needed to be called when they weren't calling dev teams seemed crazy to me. That it was just happening in a reverse order. So being that I have experience lightly in film, but a lot more so in the games industry, I figured that I could just bridge that gap myself. I had a conversation with Markiplier, Mark Fishback, about it, where I was like, man, I feel like just if I don't do this, someone else is probably going to do it. And he was like, no, nobody else is going to do this. He was like, I promise it'll be you or it'll never happen. People don't really do things, and you're in a unique position to do it. And that really motivated me to do it, where I was like, oh, you're probably right. Like, this is something that I can do that can help. So my whole thing is helping independent game developers make adaptations that they want to make. I'm not going out and trying to acquire IP. In fact, we're not even buying IP. I'm not trying to buy rights for anything. I don't care if they want to make something else with someone else as well. Not my business. But I want to just help indie devs make the things they want to make. So my dream, I recognize this is very difficult because of how time consuming independent game development is, would be that the writing team are the ones to write the screenplay, and we have all of their composers are the ones who do the composition. The sound team does the sound. That basically the game developers make the film, and I just facilitate helping them do that as much as humanly possible. So yeah, it came from working in Hollywood and recognizing or making friends in Hollywood and recognizing how little they know about video games, but how heavily they're involved in the adaptation space, and just feeling like we needed to figure out a different way to do this.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask about kind of the Markiplier of it all, because obviously, he recently had a big hit film that I'm not sure anybody was expecting to be a hit when it was kind of announced and when it was said to be in production. And so, like, what was kind of the chicken and egg here? Like, did you already know about that movie when you decided to create Charred Pictures? or did that like kind of happen afterward and validate your decision?
No, Charred Pictures has existed technically since just after I left Sony, so the very start of 2025, so well before Iron Lung came out. But I will say, anyone didn't expect that to be a hit is crazy. Like, I feel like people underestimate Markiplier. Like that when he came out with his podcast, he beat Joe Rogan first day and was like the first one to do it in a really long time. He's like everything the most one of the most successful YouTube channels of all time. Like it's insane how successful he is. He was of course going to be a success. I can't pretend to replicate that though. I'm not Markiplier. We're not just gonna like I don't have his audience or any of that. But no, certainly like I sat with him while he was doing the edit for Iron Long, and we spoke about script stuff. Sometimes he would come to me and ask questions, and I have a little part in the movie as well. So it was certainly like inspiring to watch him do that for sure, and see how he really did everything the hardest way possible because he didn't know any better. But it meant that he made something that's very authentically his and worked very close with the devs from Iron Lung, which is something that I really appreciated. So, yes, it was something I was working on before Iron Lung came out for quite a while, but it definitely, like in my conversations with him about it and what I wanted to do and what he wants to do as well, I'm sure we'll work together in the future. Solidified it as something that is possible and that people want for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, yeah, obviously not Markiplier, but what can you take away from the success of something like Iron Lung? What can you apply to the movies that you're working on?
Man, this is something that I'm doing, and it's something that I think not only does Hollywood really turn up its nose at, but frankly, a lot of the games industry does too, and I think it's really stupid. Is where possible, I am including YouTubers in the process. So technically, the first movie that Charred Pictures has made is a movie called Godmother. We have pickup shoots next week, actually. That is original IP, so we are doing those two for really small scale indie movies, hopefully under $1 million kind of budget, but mostly focused on adaptations. And our executive producer for that, lead executive producer, is Sean McLaughlin, Jacksepticeye. So I made that connection, and I intend to do that with many of the things we're going forward, where they will largely be EPs. It's not like I'm not saying that I don't want these people's creative input, because I do think that running a really successful YouTube channel is much harder than people think that it is. They have to have many areas of expertise. You have to be good at marketing. You have to know how to communicate. Like there are many, many things that people take for granted in running a successful content creation platform. But it's also that they're fans. So if I can approach somebody about an adaptation that I'm working on who is a really successful YouTuber, they tend to have a lot of money and they have a very consistent stream of income, and they are also fans of the thing, so they're not meddling with it in the way that Hollywood might. And that is super, super appealing to me. Again, I recognize a lot of people really turn their nose up at content creators with that kind of thing, but I think that that's really stupid. It means you get access to their huge audiences, you get funding from someone who actually really loves the project, and in some cases, I mean, certainly the case with Iron Lung, helped to popularize the thing in the first place, which is huge. But you also, just get another collaborator who is excited to be there, and I think that like keeps the spirit of independent anything like game dev and filmmaking alive. So that's certainly something I'm doing very differently that I think everybody should take from Iron Lung. And hilariously, again, having friends in Hollywood, sadly, the lesson they seem to have learned is that Mark should direct everything. Like that is just they're just throwing things at him, or people are coming to me and being like, would Markiplier want to do this? Which is not the correct takeaway, because giving him something he's not interested in is never going to work. But I do think that involving new media more is kind of a no-brainer. And when marketing's only getting harder and harder, there's so much social media, so much noise right now. Having someone with an audience who can vouch for the thing that you made being authentic, and then being a fan, same as Jacksepticeye is also working on the Bloodborne movie. I think that's a huge win, and people did turn their noses up at it, but it's like, no, that dude bleeds that game. He has a tattoo. He loves that game. He's there as an EP, and to make sure that the adaptation is good. So that is something I'm doing differently. And it already feels very different to some of the more traditional film stuff that I've seen be made sort of around me, in terms of just way less combative relationships between EPs and creatives. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying that like, if you bring in a YouTuber or a content creator, odds are like they're a fan of the thing, or if you do it right, then they're a fan of the thing that you're working on. So they have a greater degree of knowledge, and they're not going to meddle in kind of the ways that a Hollywood type would.
Yep.
But do you think that there's also the chance that they would instead meddle in different ways because they believe that they know the thing potentially better than anyone, and it's like, oh no, we can't do it this way or that way. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. It's got to be that. Even as that might not be within the realm of your budget or your ability in terms of what you have at your disposal.
Listen, if they're EPs
Mhm.
and they give me something that's too expensive, it's my job to go, okay, you pay for that then. Like that's how that works. Um, so yes, of course, I am
Mhm.
admittedly contacting content creators that I'm friends with, so people that I know that I will have a good collaborative relationship with. So that is certainly part of it. And
Mhm.
so far of the things that we're doing, that has not happened at all. They're very, very trusting and very understanding, and really want to be involved in a way that it doesn't feel like there's any ego attached. It feels much more like, oh man, I'm really excited to be a part of this process. Holy shit, this is really cool. I love this thing, and I really want to be here. But they're not acting like they know any better than any
Mhm.
of the producers, for example. So I haven't had that experience. Is it a risk? Sure, but I would also say that my job as a producer really is to protect largely the director and the director's vision. So that includes coming up against an EP, even if it's an EP that I brought on board. That would even
Mhm.
be, if this is what the director wants to make, I'm going to make sure that the director and the game developer are people who really like each other and are very well aligned. Like that is very important to me. If it is an outside director, in many cases,
Mhm.
I'll allow the game dev to pick the director, which is largely what's happened with Faith, the Unholy Trinity, which is Brandon Salisbury, and of course Erdorf is the game dev there. They basically align completely and have chosen each other in a way which is really, really cool.
Mhm.
And if there were, an EP to come in and disagree with Brandon, it's my job as the producer to negate that basically. So that's certainly part of producing in general, is like making sure that you're fighting off an EP with bad opinions against a director. So that's not really any different to the traditional structure, but not something I've seen so far. So far, it's been just a lot of excitement and a lot of fun, and yeah, people just glad to be included again in sort of traditional mediums that usually don't have them. I will say the biggest challenge with which is crazy, with content creators is you wouldn't think it because you think they're just content creators, but these people have huge brands. Their
Mhm.
lawyers are so intense, even compared to like traditional filmmaking funding, because it's them who's
Mhm.
represented, not just a company that's represented. So the legal process for getting an EP who's a content creator on board versus just getting an EP who is a more traditional production company, man, it's like way harder. The legal battles, like on Godmother, there was this, like, Sean wouldn't have had any knowledge of this even happening, Jacksepticeye.
Mhm.
But like his lawyer technically gave him the rights to fire the director at any point in time for any reason. He technically had right to fire any of us at any point in time. And when that came up
Wow.
to the director, I had to be like, I promise you, he's not going to do this. And he's like, well, yeah, but that's really scary. And I was like, I know that's really scary. Eventually, we got it walked down. But yeah, they
Oof.
have way more intense legal teams than most traditional film companies do,
Mhm.
because it's also like their brand, I guess, which is the thing I was not expecting coming into this. Is like you're dealing with the most hardcore lawyers of all time. So another weird film production thing to have to deal with. But that's really the only thing that's been harder. I would say everything else across the board is just, it's really nice to have people on board who are fans. That's really what it is, and that's what I think these adaptations deserve. And I'm not
Mhm.
necessarily trying to make money with all of them. Like obviously I would like to make enough money that I can then fund more of them, but it's more that I just want to make stuff that the dev teams are proud of. That's really what I want to do.
Mhm.
More than anything else is like, they don't even have to release worldwide if that's not a thing that happens. I just want those teams to be proud of the things they make. And Ben Starr on the BAFTA red carpet gave a quote that Sean immediately texted me about, which was something like, I don't think that video game adaptations need to exist. Why do they keep having to prove themselves? And we were like 100% agree. They don't need to
Mhm.
exist. And that's part of why like Charred Pictures is not out there pushing for anyone to, I'm not approaching people and being like, you need to make this and you need to make it with me. It's more that indie devs are coming to me and I'm just helping to facilitate. So if they don't want to make it,
Mhm.
great. But if they
Yeah.
do, I want to be there to help.
Yeah. Well, because I think that right now conventional wisdom is okay. We adapt the games that are already fairly cinematic in nature. Obviously, The Last of Us has been a big success. Fallout is also, I would say Fallout is a little bit less cinematic overtly, but has
Yeah.
translated to a lot of success on that front as well. I find it interesting though, because I'm looking at like because I had not played Faith: The Unholy Trinity.
Great.
It does not immediately look like the kind of game that you would say, oh yeah, let's turn that into a movie. And so, especially in this case, why this type of a game? Why did that like catch your eye as something to adapt?
Oh man.
Or did they come to you? How did it all
So they
unfold?
did come to me. In the case of
Mm,
Faith, they came to me because
mm,
I've been working on this thing for, like I said, over a year, so well before it was announced. So it just kind of spread between indie game devs a little. So people started approaching me about things. We
mhm.
frankly have more right now than I have time to manage, and that's the thing that I'm going to have to figure out how to do because I don't want to let any of these people down. So they approached me, but Faith, you got to go play Faith. Uh, one of my favorite things about it is if you look at screenshots of footage of Faith, it does not look scary. My
Mm,
god, it's terrifying. It's so scary to play. Truly incredible, but also really what it is about Faith that gets me, and first obviously Erdorf and Brandon the director are both the game, the franchise, the games mean so much to both of them. This is like from their heart, this is like their soul project. It means so much to both of them. That's number one. But in terms of Faith, from my perspective, it is very, very story rich. Like this is a series that has so many pieces that we can make it cinematic, like not uncommon for games to do, but there are plenty of notes lying around with there's so much
mhm.
lore. To the extent that when we first started having these conversations about how to adapt it, and I was replaying the game, and I've actually just started another replay. This will be like my fourth time now, I think. Um, that we were like, which parts of the lore do we show and do we not show? Because there are characters that are addressed that you never even really see, or like situations that you'll come across in the game that you never see, like the prequel to. So it's more
Mhm.
that there's so much Faith to be adaptable that it's difficult to actually choose which things to adapt and which not to. And I'm actually sort of more excited about that because it's not a one-to-one translation, of course. Like the same things are happening, but we're going to show multiple different perspectives. And there's a character people really love, Garcia, Father Garcia, who I'm hoping to show a lot more of. People really love him, but he's not seen that much in the games, though you will, learn a lot about him. So yeah, Faith is number one is because the two of them really, really care about it, and I want to help them make it, and I believe in them as well. But two is I think it's actually way more fun to adapt something that's not as cinematic. It's
Mm,
yeah, there's tons of cool challenges. Like rotoscoping is a really big thing in that series, and we're trying to figure out how to like find some way to pay homage to the amount of rotoscoping that like there's so many interesting visual effects that hopefully we can allude to, and it's just also a really cool era, like really in the kind of 70s 80s satanic panic is like really heightened in Faith. And it's a thing, like I've been watching documentaries and stuff to really kind of get an idea, and reading books and like try and really get an
mhm.
idea of like how people were in that period of time. So there's many things about it, but um more than anything, my answer to that is that there is far more to Faith than meets the eye. It's awesome.
Mm. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess also like, and you touched on this a little bit, but what is kind of your broader philosophy around adaptations of games? Because you were saying that you're interested in adapting things that maybe look, at least on paper, less adaptable or less obvious. But what do you think about the way that games are being adapted to other mediums right now? Like again, talking about your Last of Us's and your Fallouts, and even we recently saw like a first screen from like God of War, a
Mm.
series that you've worked on, and it seems like right now the consensus is like try to be very one to one in the look and feel of the thing, and even in some cases the exact stories that are being adapted.
Yeah.
In terms of all of that, do you feel like that's a good way for the industry to be approaching these things, or do you think that there's room for something different?
It's an interesting question because I think it sort of depends. Like
Hmm.
my favorite episode of the Last of Us is episode 3. That episode that
Yep.
has absolutely nothing to do. It's brilliant. Like I was almost annoyed watching that I was like, fuck, this is such a good screenplay. Like it's just so good. It just happened to be in that show. Um Obviously gamers tend to want things that are direct adaptations. That is the demand, and I think that is why the studios and the brands who are very precious about their branding, and it's why I'm not really trying to do anything in AAA because it's very complicated,
Mhm.
are being so specific about the way they're adapting things. And I think there are so many video game stories that are so rich that don't really need to be shifted, and you can adapt them, and it's cool to get the opportunity to show them to a new audience who doesn't necessarily play video games. I mean, one of the coolest things about the indie adaptations is the increase in sales when the adaptation comes out. Iron Lung did so well just because the movie came out. I think the developer tweeted that it was like maybe his first time ever. Oh, sorry, posted on Blue Sky. Nobody tweets anymore unless you're a Nazi. Posted on Blue Sky and said something like, "Oh, that they overtook Five Nights at Freddy's for the first time ever." I think, if I remember
Wow.
correctly, which is crazy cool. But my answer ultimately is that I will do what the dev teams want. That is again my job as a producer. Really is to protect the creatives. I sure will have creative input. I am a creative producer also, so I will have creative input, but I am really just trying to be a catalyst for them to make whatever they want. So if somebody's going to come to me with an indie game that, I mean, there is one that we're working on that you might call friend slop. That doesn't have a whole ton of story, but they've come to me with an idea, and the idea is really cool. And I'm like, great, I'll make the thing that you want to make, and all I care about is it being their vision. So I think there are strengths in both, but I'm not trying to have strong opinion on the way that they adapt them. I'm really just trying to let them make the movie they want to make. So trying to stay out of it as much as I can. But like, if you were to ask me things that I'd love to adapt, like I'd love to do Papers, Please. That's not super adaptable. You got to come up with a
No,
whole
not really.
story kind of to do that. That's not like a pre-written script that you can just throw into a film machine.
Yeah, well, it's a very it's a very experiential game, right? Like a
Totally.
lot of the impact of that game lies in the fact that you're performing the actions.
Exactly.
And so
And
how do
like
you translate that?
how do you
How
translate
would
that?
you? How would
Feel
you
that way.
translate that is my question.
Frankly, you probably translate that in a way that's kind of similar to, again, like it shouldn't be my input, but there is already a Papers, Please short film
Mhm.
that would probably be similar to something like Uncut Gems, where I think that you would make it really uncomfortable to watch somebody slowly escalating or somebody slowly towing the line of danger, so that you can still
Mhm.
give people that sense of uh, discomfort that also feels selfish, because it's, in theory, you're watching someone who is um, I don't know how to phrase it, letting the immigrants through illegally. I don't know the correct way to
Mhm.
phrase that. But you're thinking about the person who's behind the border, not the person who's trying to cross it. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think that's probably the best way to you're trying to replicate the feeling, right? You're not trying to replicate the experience. You can't. It's such a unique experience. But the feeling of, I think, dread and panic and difficult to say selfishness, considering everything that happens to you in that game is also very awful. Like even your living circumstances are awful, but the selfishness of it being about, again, the border agent rather than the people crossing
Mhm.
through. So that's probably what I would do. It'd be like making it rising escalation, and so that it's just a ton of tension, and you feel very concerned about whatever's going to happen to your protagonist. So struggle number one there is just make sure people really like the protagonist, which I guess they're not called protagonists in film, but whatever. And yeah, find ways to replicate the feeling. But that's certainly one of the difficult things to do. Like I would have loved to have done mouth washing, but that's a really
Oh.
simple one. It's like there's many ways to, like, how do you figure out how to adapt, especially the opening of that game where you don't know who crashed the ship. Like, how do you figure out how to do that? And I think those challenges are really fun. And where possible, like, for any international team, ideally I would fly to them and we'd have a writer's room for a week where I would go through it with them and we'd figure it out the same way that, traditional TV and film and traditional video game writers' rooms work. So
Mhm.
that's part of the fun, figuring it all out, figuring out how to adapt things that don't appear to be adaptable. I think is a really fun exercise, even if you're not working on stuff. Like, as a thought here, it's fun to talk about. Be like, oh, how do you do Papers,
Mhm.
Please? I don't know, and that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like you were talking about, doing these things along kind of some of the traditional lines, like a writer's room and stuff. But as you've already said, I think that your approach is fairly non-traditional in terms of involving content creators, and also a thing that I've seen you talk about elsewhere, um, potentially like, and I guess you said here too, like getting funding through them, which is obviously a very difficult part of any creative process in this day and age. With that in mind, like, how do you feel, I guess, in general about kind of working in Hollywood at this point, given that it seems like, the film industry has been having a lot of trouble, has been struggling a bunch, both in terms of, getting people into theaters and also in terms of just bouncing back from the strikes
Yeah.
and just sort of, going back to, or not even back to, but adapting to the modern landscape of, people mostly paying attention to social media, people watching fewer films and TV shows. Um, is there a way to combat that or to keep, I guess, the spirit of more traditional filmmaking alive against such like difficult headwinds?
I think we kind of are doing that, the way
Mhm.
that we are doing it. So, uh, first is including the content creators again as EPs, which is really what funding means. They're paying for it. Negates a lot of those problems. That lets us have a lot more freedom, and again, we're including fans in the process. It's also budget, so I am trying to stay around $1 million. I would go maybe up to 3, but I don't want to go much higher than that, which is still very indie budgets. The budget of Godmother, I think we've settled on an exact number, but it's under $1 million, and I would love to do that most of the time. That makes things feel a lot more indie for sure, but it also, prevents things from ballooning, and you end up needing 10 EPs versus 2. If you're trying to get multi-million-dollar budgets, and then that ends up in a whole fight. I just a good friend of mine just made a movie with 2 separate, very large studios, and it just seemed miserable. Like, that experience made me go, cool, I don't want to go that route really ever. And I have had a lot of, I have a meeting with Lionsgate later today. I've had a lot of meetings with a lot of studios who are obviously very interested in what I'm doing, because they're like, oh, you're making adaptations and including content creators. Wow, you figured it out. And they're right. This is, I think, the solution. Maybe I'm being naive and it'll all, fall apart, and I guess we'll see how that goes. But I think this is the way to adapt. And again, it's just so many people turning their noses up at it. Where involving content creators is concerned, again, as even just as funding, both from the Hollywood.
Why do you think they turn their noses up at it so much? Like, what is the thing that makes them say? Because on paper, yeah, it sounds like a natural extension of what people are already doing. Like, as you're saying, these people are fans, they have money, they have big audiences, which is great for marketing. And I think that you already see a lot of these more traditional institutions saying, how can we involve content creators? They seem to be very like, on some level, if not envious, and at least like they see gold in them, their hills. So why in this instance are they like, no, we would never?
Same thing that I think the games industry does. Remember when Donkey announced Big Head Mode?
Mhm.
And everyone was like, he can't do that. He's a YouTuber. Why? Why can't he fund people to make video games? You know what I mean? Like, I know with Animal Well specifically, it was a game that he tried out the demo and he really liked it, and he had none, but not a ton of creative input. He was providing funding. I couldn't see any reason why he couldn't do that. But even the games industry, even, games media, were incredibly hostile to the idea that a content creator could do that. It's the same across both of them, and I think it's just people think that content creators suck, and certainly a lot of them do. Jake Paul really out here putting in a bad word for everybody. It's not untrue, that a lot of these people can be very obnoxious or, very narcissistic or whatever else. A lot of them are terrible people is certainly a thing. True everywhere else though, I guess too. But I think that's all it is. It's just people don't respect content creators very much, and some of that is perfectly valid, but I don't think it's exclusive to Hollywood. I think the games industry does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's really dumb. And I think people are losing out on opportunities by doing so. And like, one thing that I will do, if possible, is cast people who are content creators. I would only do it if they have acting experience, and certainly not in major roles. But that would be something that if doing that, I would make sure that I sit with them, because the director's likely not going to have time to, and go over their scenes with them for months if I have to make sure that they can do it, rather than just shoehorn them in with a shitty performance, which also has happened multiple times, to make sure that it's something that I think that they're up to doing. So I think it's sort of a reality that right now this is one of the only ways that I see, never a guarantee, but you can be closer to a guarantee of a not like profit, but at least making your money back at the box office, is if you have a built-in audience. It makes an enormous difference, and gets rid of a whole lot of that risk. But I know another one of the upsides there is that the content creators that I'm working with, at the very least, again, they're friends, so they're not shitty people, but they don't even really seem to care about that. They don't care if the movies don't make money, which is also cool. They just want to make something cool. They don't really, they're not in it to profit. They're just in it to make a good thing. So that's like another upside that doesn't exist anywhere outside of this landscape. Where frankly, maybe the fact that everyone thinks they're uncool is why they have this complex where they just want to make things good, to be like, see, I can do good things. So kind of eats its own tail, the Ouroboros of insecurity there. But yeah, I don't have a good answer to that. I mean, it certainly happened to me too. Like, both when I was at IGN and when I started working at Sony Santa Monica Studio, I had people be like, you can't keep making YouTube videos. You can't do an ad for Manscaped. And I did. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be able to fund myself now while working on Layers Deep, which is an indie game we're making, team of 3 people with absolutely zero funding. So I think that a lot of those rules are just really archaic and arbitrary. And again, I'm not saying that there's no way that content creators can necessarily just do all of this because they're content creators. There are many systems in place to make sure that everybody is protected from every angle, and it's certainly complex. But to me, it just feels like a whole lot of snobbiness. Really, it's just people being silly.
Yeah. What's also like, older systems and newer systems colliding. And I think that to say like all content creators are X or all content creators are Y is painting with far too broad of a brush.
Totally.
Because there's so many different kinds of so many different focuses. And some of them are very, like if we're talking about games, are very knowledgeable about games, and they demonstrate it in the types of videos that they make and what they say. And whereas others, and I think maybe that's where some of the like snobbiness comes from, aren't. And they demonstrate that in what they make and say. You've got people like the Asmongold's of the world out there just willfully misunderstanding the process of creating games and using that as a cudgel against people they don't like. And so, of course, you're going to like meet some resistance or some hesitance to the idea of, oh, let's get them involved on a project. But by the same token, as you were saying,
Gold to fund any of my adaptations.
Oh yeah, no, and I don't think you would. But as you were saying, like Donkey was a really good example. Just somebody who like he played a thing, he liked it, and he was like, here's some money. And now we have like I recently ran a piece on Northern Lion helping fund a game and publish it. Then it feels like another good fit because it's like a game that he had played before, that him playing it made it a lot more popular, kind of put it on the map. And like it's the kind of game that he's into. That feels like more the way to do these things, as you're saying. Like get a fan who has money, preferably, and install them somewhere in the pecking order.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna approach people who aren't fans. That would be totally counter to my ethos, which is I want people who care about the thing to be involved in the thing. Otherwise, we're just going the Hollywood route. Like ideally, from every step of the way, people care about the thing. I'd even try and get like G&E, the Grips and Electric, to be people who are fans if I could. Like I'd love it to all be fans. But yes, I mean, like I was saying, that's part of why I still have a YouTube channel at all, is because I feel like there's so much misinformation about the games industry, and so few people in the games industry who have YouTube channels, because same thing that I dealt with. I was constantly told, even when I was doing it, when I worked at IGN, that I shouldn't do that. Now I'm traditional media. You can't also have a YouTube channel. That's uncool. Like people at IGN said that to me, which is absurd. But that's part of why I still do it, is because there's so much goddamn misinformation, and that's definitely a thing. But again, that's not everybody. Like the broad spectrum of content creators that exist is difficult to quantify. I think the only rule you can really abide by is that all the Twitch streamers are crazy. They read chat all day. Their brains don't work because they read chat all day. That's the otherwise, all different people.
People of all different stripes. Just
yes, just crazy if they read chat all day. But I won't be approaching Asmongold for funding.
No. Well, let's see. I think that is a very good note to transition on over to what the people have been really waiting for, which is for us to talk about Star Fox.
Hell yeah.
Because for those who don't know, and I feel like everyone must know at this point, but nonetheless, yesterday Nintendo surprise revealed yet another remake of Star Fox 64. This time, Fox looks real funky. So that's something that differentiates this one. I guess, like, especially because Luke, you've not talked for most of this time, and yet you are here. Luke is in the walls.
You really want a
what
guy who
did you
doesn't
think?
like. You want a guy who doesn't like Star Fox to kick off the conversation
Absolutely.
about Star Fox.
Yeah, that's like, good content.
The funniest thing I saw yesterday. So obviously, if you're listening to this, you would have read it on our site or seen it somewhere else. Nintendo announced, what is it? Is it a remake of Star Fox 64 on the Switch 2?
Yeah, not even the first. They've remade that game before.
Not even original Star Fox. They remade that on 3DS. Did they? See, I don't remember. I don't keep track of it. They show off this trailer yesterday, showing off this remake of Star Fox, and it looks. I mean, Nathan, you were very critical of it. It just looks odd. If you need a baseline consensus, it looked odd. It looked unexpected, especially given that there was a Star Fox cameo in the just released Super Mario Galaxy movie.
That people liked.
I liked it.
love
It fit that.
Yeah.
part of the movie.
It fit that look and it fit that sort of vibe nicely. I saw a lot of people talking shit about the designs yesterday. I saw a lot of people speaking glowingly about them to the point where I worry about how much they love these furry animals and little frogs that much. And then the one comment I saw that I found most interesting though, and I can't remember who this was, I'm sorry, but it was someone basically likening the mass reaction to this look to the reaction, God, it must be 25 years ago almost, to cell shaded Zelda, to Wind Waker. How that was roundly like hated at the time by people who
No
weren't ready for
way.
a change or whatever. And slowly over time we found, oh hey, that's the greatest video game ever made. It still looks amazing. So much later, we were all
Yeah.
very wrong. There was people sort of issuing caution about that, like, hey, maybe in 10 years this will be the definitive Star Fox. I find that interesting. I just think Star Fox looks bad all the time. I think every version of Star Fox looks bad. I think as a series, I think Nintendo have definite strengths in the type of visual identities that they can carve for themselves. I think they're obviously absolutely perfect at the Mushroom Kingdom look. They've nailed over multiple iterations. They've nailed the sort of generic fantasy kingdom look for Zelda. There's Star Fox has never sat right with me. I don't think Nintendo's artists have ever got the tone right between what they're going for and what they've presented. It's always just felt off, slightly
You just
off.
feel like he's an
Off to
affront
me.
to God, shouldn't be allowed to live.
But yeah, exactly. It's the failed experiment, just constantly. Like, just please put Star Fox out of its misery. It's just it's either too furry or it's not furry enough, or it's too Star Wars, or it's too like Buck Rogers. It's always sat just really off with me, and I don't hate it. Like, it's not like I sit here writing angry letters to Nintendo saying, please stop making Star Fox. I fucking hate this game. It's fine. It's fine. But I just don't understand why people care so much about a game when so many Star Foxes have looked weird. Like, it's always looked like Wind in the Willows to me, in a way that they're like really badly Star Wars cosplaying, but also Star
A
Wars
guy in a
cosplaying
suit.
in an off-brand way. It's like a SNL skit of Star Wars starring Wind in the Willows characters would look like. Like, it's off-brand. So yeah, look, I just think it looked weird, but in a way that most Star Fox games look weird because you're putting furries behind the controls of a starfighter. Like, I don't think there's a non-weird way Star Fox can look. But yeah,
I'm pretty close to chronically offline at this point, so I've seen like what my friend said in text threads about it, but what are people saying about Star Fox? What's the beef?
my singular take on it yesterday that I thought was very Wes Anderson looking. It's very Fantastic Mr. Fox. He's got weird teeth. He's got a weird shaped face. It's kind of like it's obviously a cartoon caricature of a furry animal flying a starfighter, but just this stuff about his teeth and his face shape and stuff. And it's particularly like other characters like Slippy. Look, is Slippy the frog? See, I'm not a Star Fox guy.
Slippy, he's a
Slippy
toad.
looks
He's not a
great.
frog.
Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry, Star Fox fans. He's a toad. The toad, he looks fine, but it's just Star Fox himself. He's got unsettling teeth.
Yeah,
In the way
he feels
that
like he's not meant to be seen like straight on.
Yep.
Like, as soon as, like, from side profile, it's like, okay, he looks fine. He looks like a little bit like,
have you ever
I
seen
don't
that
know,
style
thicker than
guide?
people expected him to. But what beyond that, it doesn't matter. But when you see him facing you, it's like, oh,
Have you ever
I
seen
don't
that
like
style
how any of
guide
that.
that Matt
People
Groening
say that about me
once
all the time.
there's
Sorry, go
a style guide that Matt Groening once did for other artists who were doing things based on The Simpsons, and it was like, here's how you do Homer, here's how you do Bart. And I think it's Homer. There's a picture of him like, don't ever draw him from this angle, and it's from front on, and he looks nightmarish. And it's like, don't ever draw him from this angle, and it's like that's
That's so
exactly what that
funny.
shot of Star Fox with his teeth. Like, it's not a snarl, but you can see his front teeth, and it just looks like a dog that you hate, like a really bad little dog. You know, like a snarling little. That's what he looked like, and
Or
I was
like
like,
one of those, there's some breeds of dogs that it just kind of looks like a man in a dog suit because there's something about their eyes. Like there's some breeds that I'm like, I can't. This
So
is just a guy.
my niece and nephew have a dog, and it's like a out of control small dog. Like, it yips and it runs and it jumps. But the thing that unsettles me about this dog is that its teeth are too big for its mouth. when it snarls, its teeth. I've got like a 23 kilo Labradoodle, and it's got big teeth because it's a big dog. This tiny dog has the same size teeth, and when it snarls, it's got these really unsettling big teeth that look like it's wearing false teeth. And it really creeps me out every time I see its teeth. And the face that Star Fox is pulling in the screenshot that everyone kept sharing from yesterday was that to me. It was that same look to me. And so it was like double layers of unsettling. Like I didn't want to
Star
look at
Fox
it
is
at
out
all.
here getting roasted, man. Poor
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Wow,
Wow.
tearing him to shreds.
Yeah. And like on one hand, all of this is true. And like that's what I basically said in my post is like it's an objective fact that Star Fox looks fucked up. That is not a qualitative judgment. He just does. But is that good or bad? And I don't think that we can say that with certainty yet, because the concept of Star Fox is unto itself pretty strange. And so at that point, you have two options. You try to either alleviate that by like making them more cartoony and being like, yeah, this is a ridiculous scenario, or you dial it up and say, yeah, Star Fox conceptually is weird as shit. And so we're going to also make the characters look kind of funky. And I think that's what they're doing. At least I hope that's what they're doing. And if so, I applaud that. Like I'm into.
It also just feels like the differential. Like it's like I have the luxury of not being a Star Fox fan. I can sit back and just appreciate this from a distance. But like, especially like I've already mentioned once, like a massive art change in Zelda games. Zelda's had a succession of significant art style changes over the decades, and they tend to become sort of chapters in its story. There are certain Zelda looks for certain platforms or decades or whatever. This can just be this generation's look for Star Fox. People over the next 3-6 years, whatever, this will be what Star Fox looks like. Some people love it, some people hate it. And on the Switch 3 or whatever, whatever the Nintendo's next iteration of series and art styles and whatever is, it might be different again. And then you can reignite the argument all over again.
Yeah.
So like it will just be interesting to look back on it in 10, 20 years time and be like, oh, Star Fox was weird in the mid 2020s. But I can at least appreciate that it was something different than just copying the Mario Galaxy movie sort of art style for it.
But again, though, that Star Fox is great. Like
it is
the
great.
best part of that movie was that little anime Star Fox bit. And also, I thought Glenn Powell was a great Star Fox. Thought he did a really good job. So it's kind of a shame that they made him so weird. But wasn't there part of the direct also where it showed that his face would speak on the
there's like a VTuber chat thing.
Yeah, it's like your own avatar that you can use in the Switch chat. Yeah.
Yeah, so I suspect that probably part of his face model is built around that technology.
Yes.
It is probably mapped to make sure that, when your jaw moves, his jaw moves at the same time. Yes. And so that potentially could create some technical problems in like terms of him looking like weirdly too human, is because it needs to be replicated by your face.
Yeah, the single most fucked up perspective that we just mentioned was front on moving his mouth is the one that we're going to see most often because of the chat feature. That's really that's a really big win for everybody.
Yeah, and it's not just Fox, it's the entire like cast of the game. You can use anybody as an avatar.
Yep.
Which again is a really weird choice that I applaud. Like that
Nintendo, man.
Yep.
Like what Luke was just saying about how like there's a distinct style of like a way a Zelda game looked for a particular era, and saying that about Star Fox as well, I think is so interesting because when you think about that early 360 era where everything was just kind of green or yellow, but it was like all games were kind of green or yellow. Like there's just like this weird green tinge on every Call of Duty from that era. Nintendo doesn't do any of that. Nintendo's like, we do it ourselves within franchise. We're not following any trends. Like I don't know what we're going to look at the games of. I think probably games right now, I would say a lot of them look a little too Fortnite-y. Like Fortnite had a very big impact on the way games look, and like Veilguard, like it just looked like Fortnite to me, and that's why I didn't play it. Which is I know really stupid, but I'm very picky about art styles.
No, it's also not a very good game, so you didn't miss out.
Allegedly, also not a very good game. I've also never really been a Dragon Age person. Don't kill me. Never really been that big.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. There are dozens of us. Dozens.
And they all are from Australia.
Australians really hate Dragon Age. Yeah, it's a huge thing. Inquisition's a great game, and anyway. But I feel like I do at least respect that Nintendo rejects all notions of visual trends and just does whatever they want, and I think it makes their games age better in many ways. What I think they deserve more criticism for is the Nintendo-iness of it, in that they're now remaking a game
And we're back.
Oh, I'm back. What the hell?
Man, Discord does this like once per week now. It's really bad.
Ooh.
It was like almost exactly when we hit 1:30 on the call. Did it just refresh?
No, it did it during our staff meeting recently as well. It just
weird.
Just kicked us all out. Yeah.
Well, no, it did it during like last week's stream. Yeah, Discord has been really funky.
Yeah.
Whatever. This will be cut in editing, so we can say anything we want to right now. What's your most controversial take? It's something that'll piss everyone off.
Oh man, no, yes, Star Fox sucks. That's the one. You know, Luke's already done it.
Yeah, it does.
I don't hate Star Fox. I'm cool with Star Fox. It's totally fine. What was I saying? I could take it from the sentence.
You were saying that Nintendo's look for, instead of having a color palette swap for this generation, Nintendo's future characters for the next 5 years will be defined by all Nintendo characters showing too many teeth. So we're going to see from the Zelda movie through to the next Mario game, there's going to be too many teeth, too many unsettling front-on glares from Donkey Kong, from Ganon.
Oh man, yeah.
But at least they're doing it. You know, they're doing it different. And what I think Nintendo actually deserves more criticism for constantly is that they are once again re-releasing a game again that they will sell at full price and never have on sale. I just think that Nintendo, they know that millennials are all just like so in the nostalgia, and we will spend money on this stuff. The amount of times I bought Wind Waker, and I'll do it again. If they would have re-released it on Switch 2 again, I'd buy it again. That's the worst part. And they just keep doing it, and we keep I'm part of the problem. We keep letting them get away with it, and it sucks. Like, I feel like it's just so wildly anti-consumer. None of this stuff ever goes on sale. You rarely get a discount because you bought it before, or like, you know, the PS4 to PS5 tiny upgrade thing that they do. Like, it's just, nope, Nintendo's like, and you'll buy it again, you son of a bitch. And we will. And it sucks.
Yeah, I saw somebody yesterday say like the real story here is Nintendo's like 30-year quest to not make a new Star Fox. Like at all costs. And it really does feel that way. It's like, okay, you've remade this game a bunch of times, and like you've made, you know, various other little spin-offs and stuff, but like what is stopping you from just making a new mainline Star Fox? Why are you so opposed?
When was the last Star Fox?
Let's see. The last like actual new Star Fox, but before this, I believe, was like 2016. And even then, like, you know, it wasn't like Star Fox 3 or whatever.
So for
they've been very stingy on this front.
Yeah, for any other publisher, I would usually say that a remake like this tends to indicate that they are fishing for data to see how interested people are in a new one, right? I don't think that's really the case for Nintendo, though. Maybe it's just that this particular kind of game isn't popular right now, so it's too risky. Like, when's the last time that a fighter like this, I mean, Star Wars, what was that game called? The last dogfighting Star Wars game in space.
Squadrons.
Yes.
Yeah, Squadrons, yeah.
Did not do tremendously well. That's the only other big franchise that I can think of that, you know, was this type of game. So maybe it's too risky.
Yeah. The other line of speculation that I saw is that, you know, especially given that he had a cameo in Mario Galaxy, the movie, that we got a Star Fox movie coming in a few years, and they're trying to roll out the red carpet.
I would watch that. I would watch it.
I just feel like sometimes, like especially big companies like Nintendo, they've just sometimes got a gap in a release schedule, and they've got a certain amount of money and a certain amount of this is a remake. It's not a 200-person. I hope it's not like you know, a 5-year project just to remake a game that's already been made. But like sometimes you can just
put 1,000 people in 5 years behind it.
Yeah. They're using the Ubisoft method. 12 studios.
Nintendo Singapore is going to spend 10 years remaking a Nintendo 64 game. Just filling a gap in a release schedule while a Mario game's coming out and while a Zelda game's coming out. Like sometimes they might not have had the manpower and the resources to make a whole new Star Fox game, but they're like, look, if we remake an existing one, there's slightly less work to do because we've got something to build on already. It'll take less time. This can be a back end of 2026 project. It won't sell 50 million copies, but you know, it'll make its money back because it's Nintendo. Enough people will buy it. And then if there is any sort of marketing research to be done on it, it's how willing people in their 30s and 40s still are in this economy and with this console to be spending full price on, you know, on the inevitable Wind Waker re-release, you know, or
I will.
I mean,
God damn it.
it's worth. I mean, if not Wind Waker, it is worth pointing out that I think the first people heard of this particular Star Fox was a leak, and that same leak also said that Ocarina is getting a remake.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're
Which
probably staring down the
would
barrel of
also
that, and
be.
I think the
Yeah.
leak said that it's coming later this year, like this winter. So wouldn't be
God.
surprised if they announce that semi soon or later in the year.
Like in
And
the
yeah,
in the Breath of the Wild engine, and the leak probably didn't have the same
that I'm
details.
not sure about
Can
it.
you imagine?
That it'd be interesting. But that engine is so like engineered for a massive world, and Ocarina is comparatively a much smaller game, at least in terms of like geography and real estate. So I don't know. I mean, I'm curious about that, but at the same time, again, there have been many re-releases of Ocarina.
wow, it's almost as if
the same thing that you were saying earlier, Alanah.
It's almost as if Ocarina was made at a certain time for a certain platform, and that's where it should have stayed, and we don't need it to be remade. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree. However, there's this thing that I always think about with Ocarina of Time. It was Tim Schafer said this to me, and I always just think about how interesting it is. It was years ago, but it was like he wanted to see what games look like for the next generation of game directors who haven't all played Ocarina of Time. You'd be hard pressed to find a game director right now who has not played Ocarina of Time. The game is so influential. I believe the map for Nier Automata, they just made it the exact same size as Ocarina of Time. I think they said that in the GDC talk. They were like, we didn't know what a good map size was, so we just made it exactly the same as Ocarina of Time. And it's going to be so interesting to see what the next generation of game directors looks like when they're not all inspired by Ocarina of Time. Like,
I mean,
now Nintendo's like, it'll never happen. It's coming back. Like, I wonder what, like, what is the Fortnite generation of game directors? What are they making? You know what I mean? Like,
well, they're making stuff in Roblox.
Yeah,
they already exist.
Roblox.
Like all these people are out there, and they're
fashion game
making
is.
a wildly different kind of game. It's just a game where you hang out in Discord. And I mean, I'm sure some of them have played Ocarina, but yeah, there is kind of like a generation gap there, and that I think that a lot of younger people have not played Ocarina of Time, and probably won't unless this remake really drives them to do that. But even then, I do not think this remake, hypothetical remake, will be for them. As you were saying earlier, it's for aging millennials.
Yes, who are spending so much money.
I work part-time at a video game school here. And as a direct sort of example of this, I was talking to a guy last year, and it was me, and there was another guy who was late 30s, and then there was this guy who was early 20s, and he was a recently graduated student. And we were talking about, I think it was NFL 2K series, which ended a very long time ago. And then we got to talking about older games, and he said, "Oh man, that's too old for me." And then I was like, "What is the oldest game you've played?" And he sat there and he thought, He said, "World of Warcraft, that game's pretty old." And I said, "My man, that came out in 2004." And he said, "I was born in 2002.
Yeah, I was going to say, 2004 is 22 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. He's
And
never played Pong?
That's what I said. I said, "You never played the original Mario?" He's like, "Nope." I said, "You never played Ocarina?" He went, "Nope." To him, World of Warcraft was what the original was, what Pong is to someone my age. And that made me sit down and exhale really deeply.
That is awful. I wish you hadn't said that. It was really rude of you.
I wish I hadn't heard it because it aged me like it was the Private Ryan gif, like in real time.
Well, I mean, I would say like find me a first-person shooter director who has not played Half-Life 2. I don't think that person exists. Find me, I mean, Ken Levine famously said that every first-person shooter is just, he said BioShock is just Half-Life 2 reskinned. Like it's everyone just trying to find something different to do with Half-Life 2.
Yeah,
and if they've not played Half-Life 2, then at least it's Halo.
Right, but I feel like that kind of shooter has become increasingly less prominent to the point where like almost nobody is making those now.
That's a really good point. Where are story-based
multiplayer,
shooters?
or is like a co-op driven thing, something in the style of like even Helldivers or whatever. Like I think that there is a growing distance from the things that we consider classics, just by virtue of
bring it back around.
Yeah, by virtue of age and also the sheer number of games that there are now. And so there's so many different entry points. Whereas back then there was more of a monoculture, so we all had the same on ramp. But that's no longer the case.
Yeah, like to full circle it, what are the people who just played Star Fox? What game did they make? What do they direct? What has Star Fox influenced? Where does its influence go? Who knows? But I do feel like this, like you said, is specifically for our generation of olds who, are nostalgia buying. I mean, it all comes back to Ronald Reagan at the end of the day. When you really think about it, I do feel like
his input on the original Star Fox was crucial. He was like, what if instead of making them like people flying the spaceships,
more teeth?
There's like a fox and like a toad, and I want the toad to look really wet. Can we make him look super
really wet toad. No, but like, I mean, he legalized advertising to children, right? So that was a new thing that came with Reagan, and so that's how we got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show, and that's how Pokemon came about. And so it's like this whole generation of advertising to children. We were kind of the first wave of that. So we're still just children being advertised to, and it's very difficult to switch that off in our brains. So I think making money off of millennials' nostalgia, considering they were advertised to from a very young age for all of these franchises, it's really hard for us to not be like, oh, I do want to relive my childhood. Thanks, Reagan. Got me again, you son of a bitch.
There we go. It always goes I mean, it really is always just Ronald Reagan's fault.
It really is.
You can trace everything to him.
He made the term MAGA. He's really all comes back to him. It's the bad
Wonderful.
But yes, in closing, Star Fox. I do think it's worth noting that from like when I saw it this morning, I think the trailer had 3 million views on YouTube, as #1 trending on gaming. Like it has a ton of interest. I don't know if that translates to sales, but people are very, very interested.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely something. But as you're saying, in this day and age, that's not a surefire indicator of really anything beyond right now people are talking about something.
Yeah, and how many views can you count on come from the furry community, not the millennial Nintendo game buying community for that trailer as well? 2.5 million of those views could be from people watching for very different reasons than I'm going to buy a video game based on this.
Or I mean, or just to dunk on it.
Yeah.
I do think that like one of the internet's favorite rituals is the mass dunking. And so everyone wants to be involved in that. They want to be part of this moment because it's fun to say like, oh, that thing's bad. Let's all laugh at it. But, when the game comes out in like a little bit more than a month, are they going to be lining up with their wallets open? I don't know. I mean, how many of those people even have a Switch 2? I know I don't.
Not me.
You guys don't have Switch 2s?
Nope.
No, please subscribe. Please subscribe at aftermath.site so we can afford to buy hardware.
That's crazy. Damn.
Yeah, Chris had to ride a city bike for 2.5 years to get enough points to get our Soul Switch 2. So
that's wild. I mean, I guess it's not the most. It's not the most difficult to do any kind of games coverage without a Switch 2, I suppose. Like, there's not a whole lot you're missing out on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The day that Fire Emblem comes out, I will get a Switch 2. Like the day of, I will go to the store and I'll be like, give it to me, and I'll just hold my hand out and they'll know what I mean. And
what if the next Fire Emblem trailer? What if everyone in the next Fire Emblem trailer is like a Muppet? And
they have too many teeth.
And they've got too many teeth. Yeah. You'd be like, oh no.
I mean, then I'd definitely buy it.
Yeah, then he's going to get there before the store opens.
Actually, Muppet Fire Emblem would be like not literally.
Oh no, literally that would be great.
Incredible.
Oh man, can you imagine?
Let's someone email Jeff. So Jeff.
Have there been any Muppet games?
No, Jeff's working on one. Surely he's got something to do with the Muppet game.
I mean, Jeff Keighley does he's
because he does the Muppets every year at the Game Awards.
Yeah,
we can get some kind of Muppets Fire Emblem crossover event. And I
feel like a Muppets game would be really good, and somebody should be thinking about this. Again, I don't know if there is one somewhere on PC somewhere.
I'm sure there's a Muppet game on the Commodore 64 or like something.
Muppets game.
But yeah, with all of that said, let's go ahead and jump over to a vastly different topic really quickly, just because I think it is notable in the grand scheme of if we're talking about the future of video games. So this week, Xbox decided to abruptly drop support for Copilot, which is its weird little AI chatbot thing where the idea was that it would help guide you step by step through games, something that nobody asked for and basically nobody needed. So it was already from the get-go a misfire. But it's interesting because the new CEO of Xbox comes from their like core AI product. And so a lot of people thought that she was going to, show up and basically add AI to a bunch of stuff. And instead, one of her first major decisions seems to be, no, we shouldn't be doing this. Let's remove it. And so I was wondering what y'all thought about that development, and also just generally where Xbox is at, which still doesn't seem to be great, but it does seem like Asha, which is her name, is trying to take steps to turn things around.
I'm deeply suspicious. Deeply suspicious. It's tough because vast majority of Microsoft's money right now is in AI, right? They're part of the big, I call it the AI borrows of the companies that are just handing each other money for AI. They're one of the larger players in that game, alongside NVIDIA, and obviously OpenAI is up there as well. It is what is funding their stocks. It is the reason that they are doing quite well on the stock market at the moment, even though there's no clear timeline for when any of the returns with all of their AI efforts will come, if ever. I do think we're facing a pretty big crash when the AI market falls apart, because nobody can keep up with how unsustainable building all these servers are. And again, there's no actual monetization scheme. There's no current way that you can make money from all of these AI products. I mean, nobody's getting Copilot on PC. There was a lawsuit in Australia for them being misleading about whether you could use a free version of, I'm not sure if it was Copilot, but it was one of the Microsoft AIs, because they basically made it sound like you couldn't, and thus forced a bunch of people to buy it. So they faced a consumer protection lawsuit, which go Australia. So I don't trust it, because business-wise, they have to push AI. It's what's floating their whole company on the stock market right now. It's their number one priority, very clearly. But I'll take it. I'm like, great, get rid of it. It is indeed useless.
I agree, but with the caveat that the other half of this, I think, is that she had no choice. I think she's come in and she surveyed the wreckage of what Xbox currently is, what sentiment within its sort of ownership base is, what sentiment towards the brand is from outside that ownership base. And them ditching Copilot is just part of the same thing they've done ever since she came in, which they've kind of had a rebrand, almost like a reversion to the old style Xbox branding. They've brought in the old original Xbox logo. They're talking about original Xbox qualities, like
return to Xbox or
whatever. It's a return to Xbox. That is literally the only business course that was left to them, because they've burned every other bridge over the last 15 years. They've burned every other bridge available to them. It's not hard to imagine that, she's come in and been told, or realized on her own, or a combination of both. Literally, the only option for us to go left is to go back to basics, is to go back to our roots, because nothing else has worked. And it's led to this disastrous downfall I saw the last Xbox hardware sales were down something like 30%.
Wow.
That is catastrophic. Like, I've never seen a drop off like that for a major video game console hardware manufacturer before.
Why would you buy one right now?
Well, exactly. Why would you buy one? There's literally, but again, I've said this on a previous podcast. I haven't bought an Xbox since the Xbox One, because I haven't needed to buy one. Some games are on PC, and the other games I don't care about. So like they
have done it to themselves.
Yeah. So this going back to the days when people were heavily invested in the Xbox brand, which is the original Xbox and Xbox 360 era, is the only card they have left to play. So like, it is interesting they've played it, but I'm also not terribly surprised they've done it, because I think it's the only way of sort of like circling the wagons, like you can at least retain the hardcore by doing that, because nothing else they've done has worked.
Yeah. Well, it also it does seem like they're going to cram a bunch of AI stuff into the next Xbox. Like, it's going to have like AI upscaling and frame generation and stuff like that. So it's not like they've stripped AI out of the thing. It's more like they've relocated it.
Yeah, but also that, I think you can criticize that kind of AI usage, and like we did with the Digital Foundry video and DLSS 6 or whatever it was.
Yeah, DLSS 5.
Yeah. 5, whatever, how horrific it was. But at the same time, like, DLSS itself is pretty bedded in most people don't.
PC gaming.
Yeah. Most people don't have an issue with it. So if that's where they're going to pivot with that, I think they'll get away with that just fine, because I think their bigger problem selling the next Xbox is recovering from the branding disaster they've had with the last two Xboxes, where an Xbox used to mean a certain type of game and a certain type of experience that you haven't got with the last few consoles. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to imagine the next Xbox rekindling that feeling if it's got to exist in the modern industry, which is like, I'm very glad my job doesn't involve trying to plan selling a video game console in the 2020s, because from cost to functionality, it must be an absolute nightmare trying to come up with some kind of business plan for it.
My exact thought to what you're saying is, to what end? Like, if they're trying to revert to the marketing of Xbox of old, to what end? Like, will they sell more of their next generation hardware? I mean, who knows? Because they can't afford chips right now. Again, it's not even the chips are the problem. It's that they can't afford the actual ingredients to make the chips in the first place. We're having such tremendous shortages that I don't know how you can even make consoles affordable right now, let alone make them at all, especially when it's so much more financially sustainable for them to be putting those right now into data centers. It doesn't make any sense for them to even make consoles right now. Like, to what end? What's the point? And if it's, again, go back to Xbox of old, I think there's kind of a reason that they had to walk away from that. Certainly, it started with the downfall of exclusives, but majority of it is the right now the shifts in the stock market is like video games are being abandoned by investors at large who are all going pro AI. I just don't understand why. Like, it's not sustainable. For what purpose? It's potentially that they're just trying to get like very good PR right now. This is why I'm saying I don't trust it.
It's a very hollow gesture, because
you're still going to go back to AI.
Yeah, but also you also just mentioned it. Xbox's single biggest issue that goes well beyond any hardware design or multimedia pivots or whatever is the decision to back away from exclusive development, which was made 15 something years ago. Stepping away from all those games that used to only get on Xbox, which was, everything from Gears of War to Project Gotham to Fable,
Halo, of course,
and then backing away from Halo, or Halo not being the series it once was. You basically kneecapped the console's ability to position itself as a must-have in the market.
Lost its identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they took things even further with their whole anything can be an Xbox campaign. Yep. And that's what this feels like a reaction to. Is
but that's also why it's so hollow.
We went so far into the woods, like we need to reel it back in and at least say okay, an Xbox is the box.
Yep.
Because they had just diluted things to the
extent
that nobody cared anymore.
Those boxes aren't gonna sell. Like, it'd be very, very difficult to sell them. The anything as an Xbox campaign, at least financially, made sense, because it was clearly it was their attempt to get into markets that have growth opportunity. The games industry right now, in terms of I guess not the industry, the consumer side, is stagnant. It's what the stock market considers to be a mature industry, where it's like they've kind of figured out new means to monetize, which obviously is what you have to do to get stock market appeal, is find some new thing that you're like, and the stock will go up. We kind of ran out. So anything as an Xbox, or this is an Xbox, that campaign was a means to try to get people in Africa, for example, which is considered a really developing community in terms of video game adoption, to consider getting the Xbox app on their phone, right? They aren't necessarily a market that is going to buy hardware, but they might get an Xbox on their phone. It is an attempt to get into some of the Asian markets where they are mostly mobile gaming. That is kind of the front of video games that's making the most money or has the most growth opportunity right now. So that made sense to me in a stock market perspective. It sucks for people like me who like traditional games and prefer, the consoles evolved.
And it feels like it just confused people was the problem.
Definitely.
It made sense on paper, but the way that they rolled it out and the way that they marketed it just made everyone go, "What? What's happening?
What do you mean everything's in my fridge?"
Exclusives. Now, these games that I could only get on Xbox are going to be on PlayStation as well. So what's the point of having an Xbox? And so then they're like, no, there's still the box too, but also it's on your phone or it's in your car or whatever.
Yeah.
And people are just like, okay, but it's too many things. And in this day and age, a big part of marketing, and this has always been true, but especially now, is have a clear, concise message and hammer it home repeatedly. And with that entire campaign, you just couldn't do that because nobody could pin down what exactly it meant in a concise way.
Yeah, partly because they were trying to be like, it could be anything, get it everywhere. But my point is at least there was a growth strategy there, thinking about it financially. Whereas backing up to, no, we're going back to the Xbox of old. That, as much as I'd like to say it's not the reality of the way that the games industry is financially right now,
Mhm.
that feels like killing Xbox. Like, why would anyone invest? And maybe it's just that Microsoft isn't concerned because they have so much money from other avenues that they can just have it be, a lower earning facet of the brand. It has been for a while, obviously, but I just can't. There's such a everything Microsoft has ever done, including creating the Xbox in the first place, has been about financial gain, right? Like that's they're a mega corporation, but I mean, Xbox was invented in the first place because they figured that it was their way to get DirectX from their PC line into living rooms, and they saw PlayStation do that, and they were like, "Oh no, they're taking over this living room space. Let's make the Direct Xbox." That's why they made it in the first place. It wasn't for a love of video games. So I'm just confused. I don't understand what the financial play is with them doing this because I can't see any way that reverting to this stuff and solely catering to this hardcore market that is getting smaller and smaller is going to pay off for them financially.
Well, that's why I said it's a hollow gesture as well, though, because if the thing they're missing is exclusive video games, you have to reinvest in making exclusive video games, and that is a billion-dollar multi-year investment that may or may not even pay off, given the risk factors involved in AAA development these days. So they can't just click their fingers and go back to 2008 and be like, "Hey, here's Gears of War 2, here's Fable 2. You guys love this shit." It's like you don't have a lot of that stuff anymore.
Well, they do have
And
EA
they
and
already
Fable.
fucked that with layoffs. I mean, like they bought up all those studios
Perfect Dark.
for the past, like 5-8 years or whatever. They had to develop a bunch of projects, many of which never came to fruition. And then they laid people off and canceled a lot of them. Which, is again this very like mixed message of, okay, so you want to go back to the way things were, but you've already kneecapped yourself in terms of your ability to do so, at least in the ways that count.
That's what I mean. What's the point? I just don't understand. Like, unless it is just we just want to fix the PR and then we'll keep giving them AI behind the scenes. Like, I just don't. I can't understand what the play is. I feel like usually what Xbox is doing, like when you look at their financial reports or you look at who they have in leadership positions, what they're doing is quite transparent. I mean, Asha Sharma hiring a bunch of people who were also from Core AI and also from her time at Instacart is, yes, we want to figure out a way to make this brand make money.
Yep.
I don't think she's dumb. So. Like, I think she knows what she's doing and is she I saw reports on this, so I looked into it, that she did get Instacart to a point where it was making money. Like, she's definitely very good at what she does. How is this strategy that? It's not, oh, yes, you abandoned gamers, and if you win us back, we'll spend more. No, the same people who, like, I still have an Xbox. I'm still playing fucking Forza Horizon now that it's in Japan. That's dope. I'm going to do it anyway. So I don't understand, like, who are you winning? Where's the money coming from?
Maybe we should run Xbox.
Great idea. Let's run Xbox.
Because everything we've just said really boils down to just repeated mismanagement at the hand of a very small number of people from Microsoft and then the upper echelons of Xbox itself. Like these aren't decisions that were made by 500 people. These are executive decisions made either independently or at the urging of the larger company itself to pivot in the Xbox One era to multimedia, B, it's too expensive or whatever, shut down all these studios and stop making these exclusive games. You can trace a handful of decisions made at an executive level in Microsoft to lead to where we are now. And so, like, it just, the idea that you can just instantly recover from that much strategic rot and that much sort of wreckage caused by so many bad decisions lasting so long is, it's delusional stuff, which means the only thing I can think of is the reason they're doing this at all is Xbox is now some kind of PR loss leader for Microsoft, and they don't really care if it's losing money. It's a place where Microsoft, where Microsoft can still be cool. Like, we still have Xbox, it does video games. You all hate Windows, you hate Copilot, you hate AI, whatever.
But remember the Master Chief? He's cool. He's tall. He's green.
It's the millennial grift again, and we keep falling for it.
Well, no, I mean that's what I was thinking earlier. Is that this, like, going back to the way things were? Once again, it's a play for nostalgic millennials, and like there are multiple problems with that. One is that it is a necessarily shrinking market. People get old and they die. And two is that, like, people stop playing Halo and stuff like that for a reason. Like, they got bored of it. I mean, like,
Yeah,
it was of
Yeah,
its
dude,
time.
I'd still be playing Halo if the Master Chief Collection fucking worked. It's crazy that the Master Chief Collection is still so shit on PC. It's insane. It can be so difficult to just join a game with a friend if they're on Xbox. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it's a goddamn nightmare. Also, Infinite's just not Halo anymore. Halo, it doesn't even work. If they hadn't fucked Halo, I would still be playing Halo. I would love to keep playing Halo, but like they kind of burned it to the ground.
I think there's also a strategic misstep there in that it's following the playbook already put down by Gen X nostalgia, which was heavily weaponized. Gen X nostalgia was $1 billion industry. All those Transformers movies, you know, there's so many remakes and pivots to 80s popular culture that printed money for so long. Millennial pandering is not going to be anywhere near as successful because we don't have any money. We don't have the money that those Gen X people had in their 30s and 40s. We don't have those jobs. We don't have that economy. We can't go out and spend hundreds of dollars on remakes and remasters and pivots and tributes to the things we grew up with because we don't have that money. We just said me and Nathan work full time for a video game website and we don't own Switch 2s. You know, like that's where we're at the moment in terms of like how much disposable income the average millennial has in terms of like buying this nostalgia stuff. I think that's a really bad idea if you're going to start relying on that like you did the Gen X stuff, because the amount of money on hand is just not there like it was 10, 15 years ago.
I'm thinking about canceling my health insurance because it's too expensive, which is such a wild thing to have to do. But I was like, well, paying $400 a month to never see a doctor and to just like maybe help me if I get cancer or get in a brutal car accident. And I was like, if I canceled that, surely I could like put together a GoFundMe or something. If I
are you still an Australian citizen? If you are, if you're still
I am,
an Australian,
but I can't get health insurance through Australia. But
no, but you can still at least use our public system. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If I get in a car accident here, I'm just going to fly to Australia with my broken leg and be like,
absolutely-
help.
It would absolutely be cheaper to fly
You
back
just
to
hope
Sydney.
that the car launches you into a plane. And you're like, there we go.
I'm fine, help. I actually did just get my wisdom teeth removed, and I did it in Australia because it was, I think, $1,000, whereas here they were quoting me like $3,000 per tooth.
Yeah.
So I went and did that back in Australia. It's insane. But no, you're right. I mean, but again, here's the thing. Microsoft knows that. They're not dumb. They're aware of the markets. Reverting to this old stuff doesn't make any sense. I understood why they did the anything as an Xbox. I understood the market that they were pandering to try to do that and the growth attempt. I understand why they're doing the AI stuff. I hate it, but I understand why they're doing it. It works so well in the stock market. It's how they get more investment money. It's how they all make more money. I don't understand this. I love it. Great. Panda to me, baby. But I don't get where they think they're going to get gains from here. I just don't. What's the plan? People aren't going to suddenly start spending a whole bunch of money on Xbox, as we've addressed for many reasons. I'm just so confused. I don't.
Maybe there's going to be a big showcase later in the year, and there's Rockstar Table Tennis 2 and Project Gotham Racing 4, and they're going to be like, "Hey, did you have an Xbox 360? Check this shit out!" And it's just.
It's the most realistic ping pong ball ever. They're like, there's no visible polygon. We can zoom in all the way.
They're bringing back 1 versus 100, but it's, I don't know, got crypto in it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, I don't know. It's very confusing. But we'll take it. Again, get Copilot out of there. Am I being pandered to? Yes. Am I okay with it? Also, yes. I'm just confused. What is happening?
Aren't we all? Speaking of pandering, I think it's time to now pander to our own audience by doing the mailbag. The mailbag is something that you can access if you are a subscriber to Aftermath at our $10 member tier. That will get you access to our Discord, and that is where the mailbag lives and sleeps and dreams. And you can contribute to it and also talk to other people who read the site who are great and cool, and you'll have a wonderful time. Anyway, first question from Mectroid. What dish would you make all the time if cooking or baking wasn't such a chore?
Lasagna.
Ooh, that's a good
Constant
one.
lasagna. All day, every day. But like with the
mom used to
ragu
make
that you
that.
like cook for a day.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
My mom used to make that a lot when I was a kid. Lasagna night was a very special night.
I cook every day, and I cook a lot, so I do clean and cook.
But like anything that you really want to cook, that, like you don't because it takes too long.
I really struggle. It's one of my favorite foods, but I really struggle with fried chicken. It's like a real it's just a pain in the ass to cook fried stuff to the level that I want it to be. The prep, the getting the oil to the temperature, holding it at the temperature. So I don't do it very often. So if I could click my fingers and make that process better, yeah, I'd make like nice Korean sort of double fried chicken.
Delicious.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'd become a brisket guy. I'd get a smoker. I'd do all that stuff. I'd be one of those people who posts it all the time and like, just like, oh, look at how like the meat is marbled, all that stuff. Yeah, no, that would just become my whole life.
Yeah,
I'm dying thinking of you with a giant smoker in your like studio Brooklyn apartment, just like flooded in mist because you've got a brisket cooking for 24 hours.
Oh yeah, no, my eyes would be red. I'd be coughing all the time.
But you'd be so happy.
Yep.
Yes, exactly.
The paint
like,
smells like beef for the next 25 years. Yeah.
Someone else should be so lucky to get that apartment then. All right, from Tomorrow Jones. How many active subscribers would it take to do a quarterly print of Best Edition? I urge you to go look at our subscriber goals, and you might find the answer.
It is on there. I have investigated various printing methods to get this done. My personal preference is a lovely hardcover book with a minimal front cover that collects at least our best work. We'd have to look into freelancers about compensation of proceeds made from that. But yeah, it's definitely something we've thought about for a while. And the longer we've been open and the more good work we've been able to write and share the good work of others, it's getting more compelling to sort of put it all together.
It'd be really cool to do like an annual release of that at the end.
Yeah, that's what our subscriber goal is, an annual release. And I've talked to one person who works for like a zine company and who's very interested actually in having us do one. So
that's really cool.
Starting point at least.
We just got to work out how to get Blue Sky embeds working on a piece of paper, because we rely too much on embeds in a lot of our stories. So I'm kind of
speak for yourself.
Zine,
all right, from Mish. Enough with the HD remix. It's time for SD demakes. What modern games would benefit from worse graphics and crunchier gameplay? I like this question.
I mean, I when playing the Master Chief Collection, often would go back to old graphics because it makes things brighter. You can often see better because they don't have, the blacks aren't very black. The contrast is not great. So it's certainly like, I think of any game that's too dark, like anything where you can't see, demake it, make it brighter. Brightness 100. Give me Resident Evil 9 Oh, that's actually a good one anyway. Give me Resident Evil 9, Evil game. But like RE1, that'd be dope.
I think any of those AAA third person, like the God of War games, if they looked like the Lord of the Rings PS2 games, I think they would be better games.
Alan Wake.
Alan Wake.
Alan Wake 2, yeah.
Pragmata, remake it for Xbox 360 or demake it. Put it in the era that it was supposed to be.
Clearly, yeah, very good, very good. You give Space Marine 2 that green tint. That again, it clearly deserves for how of that era it is. Yeah, good stuff.
Okay, let's see. From Jack. Which other beloved Nintendo IP should they make first-party VTuber rigs of next? Let's see. What would be a good one?
Birdo.
Yes. Yeah, Birdo VTuber.
Birdo. You're just staring down.
If you open your mouth wide enough, an egg comes out.
You're just staring down the tube the whole time. Someone's not talking. It'd be so unsettling.
Very good. I do feel like a GoldenEye would be fun. Especially with like the terrible faces. Like give me like Boris face rig.
Yeah.
That would be sick.
And if I raise my hand, it's got to be a closed fist at all times. No fingers.
Yeah, very good.
Man, that is one of my like most enduring childhood memories, is watching like the scientists type on the computers in GoldenEye, and their fingers were like it was a closed fist, and they're just bang. I was like, that's the funniest thing in the entire world. This is going to be my entire sense of humor for the next my whole life.
Incredible. It's art. Yeah, give us VTuber rigs of GoldenEye 64. That'd be dope.
Yes.
And Odd Jobs is just his hat. You can't actually see the face.
Yeah. Or you could do like a Jet Force Gemini, so then we can also see what Lupus's weird two teethy face looks like.
A game I have not thought about in decades.
You got to think about Jet Force Gemini. All those ants.
Man, that game's sick.
Think about it. All the koalas. Oh my god.
All right, let's see. From Saint of Penguins. You're on a space station trying to save your galaxy, a la the film Hail Mary. Which Star Fox character would you be stuck with? Unfortunately, they can only communicate using their N64 voice lines. I mean, it's gotta be Slippy.
Yeah.
I also think it's got to be Slippy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think
Can't
that
be
the best
Fox,
thing I
doesn't
could
make any
do in
sense.
that situation, because I don't think that I would have the ability to like really change anything, but I'd want to feel useful, and I could at least try to calm someone down. And I know that Slippy would be freaking out, so I could be helpful there.
Also, Slippy, a toad is the most space-like creature of all those animals.
Yeah,
If that makes
that's
sense.
alien for sure.
He's the closest to an alien
Yeah.
than a furry animal is. So
Yep.
Yep.
We figured it
Slippy.
out.
Yeah,
Great.
Slippy.
Slippy.
Maybe Slippy can breathe in space. Has anyone tried?
Maybe.
Has anyone just hurled him out an airlock?
Maybe we're gonna
Gotta
find
be.
He's
out.
like, I'm fine,
Yeah.
actually.
Maybe he's gonna be
I
like
guess-
maybe he's gonna be like Leia in that Star Wars movie that he's gonna like get shot out of his
Yeah,
starship.
yeah.
And
The next Aftermath goal needs to be like $2 billion so we can send a toad to space. It's worth it for science.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll have to somehow convince people that no animals were harmed in the making of this production.
They won't
No.
be because toads can breathe in space. So we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah, exactly. We're just testing a hypothesis that we
We're
already
just
somehow know to be true.
Mhm.
Yeah, they don't need oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
We're proving our hypothesis. Yeah.
All right. From Christian, you get to be movie executive at Aftermath Productions. You have to pick one huge AAA game IP to make into a short, low-budget movie or TV show, and a small indie game to turn into a huge blockbuster. Which games?
That's 2 questions. That's
Ooh.
sneaky.
Let's see.
Well, I guess I already said Papers, Please. I'll take the huge blockbuster for Papers, Please. I'll make it like a World War II, World War I era, like massive scale. Give me $20 billion. I'll do that.
Would you just get the cast of Chernobyl and the production crew of Chernobyl to just be like, hey, do you guys want to do a kind of sequel?
Papers, Please.
Yes,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And what does AAA even mean? But the most AAA one that when people ask it, what I would want to adapt is Stalker. There's just something. Technically, it has already had a film, but it was based on the book, so it's quite different. But I love those games in a very unique way. Like I love them for very unique reasons, and I think that'd make a banger $1 million adaptation. That'd be really cool.
My AAA game would be, I know they're doing a movie, but it would be Death Stranding. But the low budget would be it's only set in one of the bunker shelter city things. You never actually go outside. It's just like that second Cloverfield movie where you're only down there.
Yeah. Very good.
And then my indie to blockbuster would be an animated celebrity-laden film about Caravan Sandwich, which was one of my favorite games from a couple of years back. Just that little space adventure game about a girl and her van on an alien world. I think that would be amazing to see as like, because its art style is already perfect. I've done an art feature of it on the site already. If you haven't seen it, search Caravan Sandwich, it'll come up. Just seeing that, but like fully realized on the screen as like a $100 million animated feature would be amazing.
Oh, like Outer Wilds, Interstellar.
Oh, Outer Wilds would be a really good
budget
one.
Outer Wilds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think
I
Katamari Damacy would look like? That's got to be a horror movie. You do a
my one request for Outer
no,
Wilds
it's
is
an anime. It's like a batshit 23-minute anime.
But what if I say it's not anime? What does it look like? Horrific.
Oh, it has to be. Otherwise, I can't conceptualize it. That's the only framework through which I can view Katamari. I don't want to see photorealistic Katamari. That's a horror.
It would be expensive, though. It would be expensive.
I would like to throw like a Marvel-sized budget at Disco Elysium, but specifically like the most fucked up playthrough, like the one where you make every possible mistake and it's just deeply embarrassing for all involved.
Very good. Yeah.
Does it work? Does it work like Zoolander, where he's like you can hear the inner monologues?
Oh, I sure hope so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you've got to be able to hear the inner monologues. That's like the core appeal.
There is I don't know if it's like actually in production or anything, but I know that it exists. There is a Bollywood Disco Elysium. Like it's actually called Disco Elysium, but I don't know if it's like actually still being made or anything. But that is a thing that somebody wrote.
Huh. And it's I would assume it's linked to the IP and everything, because otherwise they'd get
I don't know
sued.
if they did it legally, but I know that it exists. Like I don't know how they did it, but let me see. Like see if you can find it on Google. It might not be publicly known, but
would the inner monologue be voiced by the same character, or would you get celebrity cameos in to do the inner monologue? Surely,
if we got the budget, we're doing celebrities. We're doing like A-listers through the roof.
You've got
Yeah.
Josh Brolin, Will Ferrell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet
Sure.
doing some
But
whiny
the
rat
the
boy.
voice, I think, is Nick Offerman, because that's what they all do. Nick Offerman just voices everything. He's the internal monologue.
Okay.
I mean, I take that as well.
Or is
I
Nick
mean, we can just
Offerman?
give him.
No, is Nick
We can
Offerman?
change Nick Offerman's life. We can give him $199 million.
Finally.
Wouldn't Nick Offerman be the actor? Like he would be the character, and then
Mhm.
you would have other people doing the because the inner monologues are basically different characters.
Yeah, but I mean, for the main character of Disco Elysium, we need somebody who is skinnier and sweatier. They need to be like naturally sweaty. They need to secrete some kind of an ooze.
Who's the
I just
sweatiest
watched the Weird Al movie last night. Finally,
Mhm.
Daniel Radcliffe is exceptionally sweaty.
And actually,
in that
Daniel
movie.
Radcliffe would be
He could do it.
perfect.
Yeah, he would.
do it.
Yes.
Because
Great.
he's also slightly he can do slightly unhinged really well as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he can do. He's really good at it. I've been watching
Also,
Reggie Jenkins, the new teenager. Yeah.
He's weirdly jacked in that movie. There was a moment where he took his shirt off and I gasped. I was like, there was no need for him to be in that kind of shape for that movie.
Yeah.
What an
But
amazing.
no, he's been that way for like the past 2 decades.
Is he always like that? I thought it
Yes.
was a joke for the movie that like they put him through an intensive Marvel like fitness regime just for this one shot where he takes his shirt off. I was
In
like,
the Weird Al movie?
yeah, I was like, that is the most long-term like payoff for a joke imaginable.
They got him a nutritionist and everything.
Yep, just
for Jack for that one scene.
Yep. Like not everyone even would have laughed at, but I thought was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen in my life. So
incredible. Also, I forgot to mention this earlier. Sorry, there are several Muppets video games.
Oh,
several.
All right.
14, in fact. Anyway, as you were.
Yeah, that's
next week on Aftermath Hours. We play
we're
every
just gonna
Muppet
go
game.
through
Every Muppet game.
I mean, look,
One
it's
of
not a
them's
terrible
called
idea.
Pigs in Space, and it's on the Atari. So that sounds actually kind of sick to me. Pigs in Space.
And it's just a reskin of ET. It's really bad.
Yeah, they buried it in the desert.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Final question from Lexi. Anybody see the Exit 8 movie and have any thoughts? I can't believe I lived long enough to see a video game adaptation go to Cannes.
I have not seen it, sadly. No.
I've heard it. I've known people who have seen it and they say it's really good. So
yeah.
And these are people who clearly have not played the game, whereas
I don't even necessarily know the origin of it.
Yeah, so we've had hilarious conversations where we try and jigsaw a total opinion on Exit 8. I've played the game and haven't seen the movie. They've seen the movie, but haven't played the game. And we're like, does this happen? Does this happen? And they're like, hey, what's the game? I'm like, the game is walking through a tunnel for ages.
It's so interesting how
That's
fast
what the game is.
Too.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, well, this happens and this happens in the movie. I'm like, damn, what a cool adaptation.
Other stuff? Yeah. No, I haven't seen it. It sounds cool though. Same as like, I'm so curious about how the Backrooms turns out. I mean, you got Chiwetel Ejiofor. And it's also the director, I believe, is also the game director, which is incredibly cool. Like, I'm so curious to see what that.
It also legitimately looks like a really like good. I know it's a trailer, but I saw the trailer and I was like, "Damn! If I had not known that was a video game, I would be excited for this movie."
It looks super cool. Yeah, it does. I'm genuinely really looking forward to it.
We live in an age where Hollywood is picking games based on the appropriateness of their adaptation, not their units shifted measure. What a time to be alive.
Well, at least in some cases. Not in all of them.
Minecraft movie accepted.
Yes. All right. On that note, I think it's time to wrap up. Alanah, where can people find you?
I'm officially at Alanah Pearce on everything. I was at Charlanazard for, I don't know, 15 years or something. And let me tell you, very difficult to change. Twitch, very easy. YouTube, difficult but then easy, because somebody had at Alanah Pearce and I had reported them for impersonation, and so YouTube support told me that if an account's been taken down, there's no way to get it back. And I was like, because they impersonated me? That's crazy. Instagram took 8 weeks. 8 weeks to change. TikTok took about a month. Surprisingly difficult. Like, I guess if you're verified or have a certain following, they're just so strict about it. But yes, I'm officially at Alanah Pearce on everything. I'm all grown up now.
I have a related question, which is that does Charred Pictures come from your old username?
Yes, I handed it off to myself. So the logo is Nintendo. Don't watch this. Nintendo, don't sue me. Nintendo, get out of here. The logo is intended to be like kind of an homage to Charizard, and so it's like I handshaked it to myself. where I wanted to keep part of the char, but it's also like I am trying to burn the system down and do it in a very different way. But yeah, that is part of the appeal. Yes, that's why I changed it at the same time. Still keeping Char Alanah's art alive. That 13-year-old who came up with that. It's on the back of my senior jersey. But yes, otherwise he's dead.
Excellent. Let's see. Does Aftermath have multiple meanings to its name? I don't think so. We pretty much just have the one.
How did you come up with it?
We did a
made
really
big
long
list of possible names, and we decided that we hated all of them except that one.
No, we hated this one the least. That's a very important.
That's true. That is a
What
crucial
was the
distinction.
worst? What was the worst one you had?
No, there were bad ones. There were lots of ones that were like video. I don't want not to talk too much shit about other websites who use video game terminology for their names, but there was ones using video game terminology for their names that were so fucking corny that I deleted them in disgust. Yeah.
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 Some of them don't even make sense, really. Like I think there's one that's just called like D-pad down or something like that used to be a website that no longer exists. That was just like, why? What would that even do?
I mean, it sounds kind of like Diva Down. I doubt that's what they were going for, but
yeah, maybe. Release the list. We want to see the list of all the names.
I think that Slack ate it at this point, unfortunately.
We don't pay for premium Slack, so everything gets deleted after 90 days.
Because you can't afford it. That comes off and Twitch too.
So about 3 months after launch, we lost that doc. So
also, if people want to sue us and find things in Discovery, too bad.
Too bad.
Genius. All that money's going towards sending that code to space, man. You gotta cut corners elsewhere.
Yep.
It's gonna take a long time to save up for that.
Hobby Codex lawyers, if you're listening, you have 89 days left.
Anyway, this has been our show, specifically the show of Aftermath.site. If you enjoyed what you heard, you can subscribe on the website. We'd really appreciate it if you did. Anyway, we record this every week on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Gosh, what is time? Anyway, and we'll be back next week to do it again. But until that time, have a good one.